You haven't been trained to create the best conditions for your life. You've been trained to do what other people do, and you've been trained to do what society wants you to do. And if you do those things, you'll get somehow rewarded, and you don't get rewarded. It's all bullshit. It's a lie. A really good friend of mine suicided. I found out and I had to go on stage 20 minutes after I got the phone call. You've got to be a leader of your own life. You've got to be an entrepreneur of your own life. You've got to be the CEO of your life. And you're the main character. I don't give a fuck if you're offended, because offended's a choice. So if you're offended by something I say, it's kind of a you thing. Like, I don't care. You haven't been trained to create the best conditions for your life. You've been trained to do what other people do, and you've been trained to do what society wants you to do. And if you do those things, you'll get somehow rewarded, and you don't get rewarded. It's all bullshit. It's a lie.
It's like a badge of honor.
It's like this badge of honor that if you get a good, and if you do all the right things, and you go to university and you get a degree and you get a job and you turn up every day and your life will come together, and it's like, no, you probably won't. You'll end up unappreciated, unenthused, bored, grumpy, and pissed off with everyone around you. And you're like, what are you doing about that? And that's the problem. I was cooked in a really beautiful oven. My mother was very nurturing and did all the things that mothers do, which was great, and provided a really stable kind of environment. My father was a complete menace and mad and brilliant, mad in a really good way. Like I remember listening to Power of the Mind tapes when I was 7 years old. He was really into mindset. He was into power of belief, you can do anything. So I was kind of marinated in self-belief from a really early age, and he was just like, there's nothing you can't do, there's nothing you can't be. So I was totally cooked in a self-belief oven, which I think has definitely made me who I am today. Like, I never doubted myself, because from an early age I was told I could do anything, and I believed it.
Do you think that you worked on it as well? You had to work on that in addition to the environment that you were brought up in. It wasn't just given to you. It wasn't just handed over to you in your genes.
Definitely.
You had to work
so
on
my
it.
father was like, you can do or be anything, but you have to work for that. That was kind of, and he was really into hard work, and he worked really hard. He was self-employed. So he was like, you can be the master of your own destiny kind of stuff. And he was like, but you have to work hard, and he had very high standards. He used to make me practice my handwriting. I had to show him my fingernails every day to see that they weren't messy. He had very high standards, very high grooming standards, very high standards, full stop. So raised me with very high standards about could you be better, which was a lot. And then on top of that, I sort of got out into the world and was like, I can do what I want. And then school was like, no, you can't. And I was like, I don't think you know who I am. I can do what I want. My dad told me. And then they were like, well, you can't. And I was like, oh, shit. It's disappointing. So then I had to find ways to get what I wanted. And then because my father told me I could have whatever I wanted, but the reality was the world was like, no, you have to sit down and write this essay. And I was like, I don't want to. And they were like, but you have to. And then I'm not very good at have tos. I'm quite oppositional. So I was in the school system. But then I worked out that if I wanted to get what I needed out of the school system, I needed to play the game. So I was clever enough to work out that if I played the game, I could get what I wanted. I'm very neurodiverse. So this classroom wasn't I was easily distracted. Lisa would do well if she applied herself more. Lisa talks too much. And I was like, this is what I need. I know myself very well, and I worked out quite early that if I knew myself, I could get my needs met. So I knew that I couldn't sit still for an hour. It wasn't possible. And so I would offer to help the teacher hand things. So I knew I had I'll do that. And they thought I was being helpful, but actually I was just giving myself a movement break. I was getting up and collecting all the papers. I was getting up and packing up all the supplies for the class. But it met my need, but it looked like I was meeting their needs. So I think that's important. And I wrote a book called Everything You Want. And I think I always say I'm very wanty. I'm not needy, but I'm very wanty. And I think wanting is one of our greatest instincts, and we're taught to suppress our wants. And in actual fact, if you know what you want and you chase it, the world will be better for that want. And if everyone knows what they want, they've got more chance of getting what they need. And if they get what they need, they can be better at what they want. And on a soul purpose level, I think we have wants for a reason. So like, I want to be on a stage. I've always wanted to be on a stage from a very early, like, I've always wanted to be on a stage. And I talk to people all the time and they go, oh, I never want to be on a stage. Being on a stage is my worst nightmare. And I'm like, see, so if I want to be on a stage, I must be meant to be on a stage. And if you don't want to be on a stage, then you must not be meant for that. Some people, want to do all kinds of things. I'm like, cool, do that. Like, some people want to be doctors. They want to cut bodies open and explore the inner workings of a human body. I have zero interest in that. So it's like, everyone should do what they want, and I think the world would come together. But what happens is, as a child, you go, I want to do this, and your father goes, no, be an accountant. And you go, oh, I have to be an accountant. And then you listen to society or your parents or the pressures, and you forget who you want to be, and you go and be who the world wants you to be, and then you forget what you're on the planet for. And I think that's really sad. So I spend a lot of time liberating people from all these shoulds and helping them get back into, what do you really want? I think energy is everything. I think it's all we have. And I think it's our number one currency, and we underestimate the power of it. And I know that energy is a decision. I make a decision every day, every opportunity I accept. Like when I met you, I loved your energy. You're like, come on my podcast. I'm like, yeah. If I met you and I didn't love your energy and you said, come on my podcast, I go, nah. Right. So everything's an energetic decision for me. What I wear, where I stay, how I travel, who I spend time with, everything is an energetic decision. And once you understand that, it changes the way you are. So people say to me all the time, how come you've got so much energy? It's like, because I decided to have. And I have a lot of energy because I know what I like, and I make sure I have that. I give myself what I need. So knowing what you want and giving yourself what you need, I think that it's 101 of being good at being a human. Because what happens is otherwise you go out into the world giving everyone else what they want. You don't get your needs met. You're bitter, twisted, obligated, angry, frustrated, pissed off with the world. And then you're awful, and everyone goes, oh, let's not hang out with her because she's awful. And then you're like, why does no one hang out with me? I'm like, because you're awful. So, bottom line is, you're awful. And if you take responsibility for your energy, you're better. Yep. And our energy, makes us physically, like there's obviously a physical energy where you have energy and you are awake and you're not tired and grumpy. There's a physical energy where you're comfortable in your body, where your body is not in pain, or it works, or it moves, or it's not upsetting you. And that's a huge part of being human, is owning a body. And we have to look after our bodies. Like, that's so important. I don't give a fuck if you're offended, because offended's a choice. So if you're offended by something I say, it's kind of a you thing. Like, I don't care. I haven't eaten dairy or gluten for 25 years because that messes with my body. And I know that, so it would be pretty stupid of me to put those things in my body and not give it the best chance of life. And I think of our body as a rental car that we pick up at birth and we drop off at death. And it's like, look after your car, man, because you're not getting another one. Yeah. Like, sure, you can get your knee replaced or your hip replaced, but you don't, obviously there's organ transplants and things, but generally if you fuck up your body, you've got nowhere to live. So I think that's really important on a physical level. And then our mental energy is our mental clarity and what the stories we tell ourselves. And I think if we tell ourselves that the world's horrible or that I'm not good enough, then the world will be horrible and you won't be good enough and you win. Like, whatever you think is true, right?
There's so many people listening to this podcast now going, I have no energy right now and I'm really tired and I'm really exhausted. I'm burnt out. The word burnout is so overused. I have no excitement for my job. It's overwhelming me. It's taking me over. These are the pain points that some people are listening going, that's me. What do you say to those people? Where do they even begin? Because when I looked at your book, and I think the first few pages, you said you got to work on your energy. And I'm like, how do you do that? So obviously there's ways to do it. But the people listening going, where do I even start?
I think first of all, you need to work out what is it that's draining your energy. So is it physical? Like, if you've got a young baby and you are exhausted because you're up every 3 hours through the night, your physical energy is compromised. And There's not much you can do about that because you invited that baby into your world, right? So then it's like, what can you do? How do you get that sleep? How do you fill your cup? And people don't. They try and carry on with their pre-baby life with a baby, for example, which is just dumb. Because you've had this massive shift in your life and you need to change everything. And so I had 4 babies really quickly, and I had the most extraordinary midwife. And she said to me, when that baby sleeps, you sleep. So I slept when the baby slept. And that was how, and I got my sleep in, not in beautiful patches of 12 hours at a time, but in a little 2 hour, 2 hour, 2 hour, 2 hour, and eventually, 6 twos are 12. So it's like, you have to prioritize that because otherwise you're no good. And that's the same as if you're starting a business, that's exhausting. So it's like, cool.
It's like having a baby, really.
Well, it is literally creating an entity. And it's like, what are you doing to support yourself in that business? And where are you getting the energy for that? And so there's the physical stuff. There's the mental stuff we believe, but emotional energy is really big, and emotional energy comes from what lights us up and being inspired and and our feelings. So if you're feeling really flat, your energy goes down. And if you're feeling good, your energy goes up. And I'm like, cool, what makes you feel good? And people go, I don't know. Because you haven't been trained to create the best conditions for your life. You've been trained to do what other people do, and you've been trained to do what society wants you to do. And if you do those things, you'll get somehow rewarded, and you don't get rewarded. It's all bullshit. It's a lie. They're in obligation and doing all what they should do. And instead of going, and I always ask people, what's the season? What season are you in right now? So last weekend I ran my repotted retreat. And I love the idea of repotting because I think we're all houseplants with feelings. And it's like, so what season are you in? And you're like, oh, I'm in the little children's season where I've got 3 under 5. And you're like, cool. So if that's your season, jump into that season. If you're in the, my kids have all just left home season, jump into that season. If you're in, I'm just starting a career, jump into that season. It's like, what is the vibe you're in at the moment? If you've just started a relationship, what's the most important thing in your world, and leaning into that. But I think we try and do everything all at once. And I think we don't prioritize what's important to us.
So one thing at a time.
Well, I think you can have it all. You can't have it all at the same time. And so even if you go, right, this morning I'm in my business, this afternoon I'm in my children. A really good friend of mine suicided. I found out and I had to go on stage 20 minutes after I got the phone call. If I'm paid to be on stage to present for 45 minutes, I'm 100% there for that audience in that room at that time, and literally nothing else matters. So you're in a bubble where that's all that matters. And you have to be 100% present to the energy in the room, to the people in the room, because they never get that time back. And it's such an honour to have the ears of 500 people. 500 ears for an hour that's 500 hours of people's attention.
Especially 1,000 ears, because it's times 2.
Right. And so 1,000 ears for an hour is crazy, right?
It's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of presence, and the opportunity cost of what those 500 people could be doing with 500 hours is crazy. So when an organisation gets me in to speak, I have to make a difference, because that organisation, their entire organisation's locked in a room for an hour with me instead of doing the amazing stuff they could be doing. So it's a lot of pressure to make a difference in that time, and I take that really seriously.
Oh my gosh. The question is, how do you make sure they're going to wow them? Because you wowed us, and you were very funny and insightful, and you had a lived experience of so much. And that's what really captivated me as a listener, as someone with 2 ears. Yes, I have 2 ears. So how do you keep your audience engaged?
So I don't ever do the same presentation twice. I literally can't. My ADHD won't let me. I get bored with my own content. And so for me, it's about being really present to the room, and really present to who's in the room. What are the problems they have? What do they need? What's the thing that's really their biggest issue right now? And every audience I speak to has a different set of problems. And sometimes it's a demographic. So you go, the room's full of young women, or the room's full of older men, or the room's full of engineers, or the room's full of accountants, or the room's full of real estate agents. I work in so many different industries, and I love going, I'm so curious. I'm actually just nosy, but curious is a nicer word. When you tell people you're nosy, they go, oh no. But when you tell people you're curious, they go, oh, that's cool. So yeah, I'm really curious / nosy. And so it's like when you say you're assertive instead of bossy, I'm actually bossy and nosy. So shall we go and find you some striped clothing? And she said, well, I can't wear stripes. And I said, oh, what? Why not? And she said, oh, well, they'll make me look fat. And I said, well, no, you are fat. It's not the stripes that are the problem. Like, facts are, you're a big woman. And yes, technically, if you came to me and said, I want to look like the thinnest version of myself, I probably wouldn't dress you in a stripe. But if you love stripes, like, wear fucking stripes. Like, you know, we love things for a reason. And it's like, I love pom-poms. Pom-poms are one of my favourite things in the world.
Okay.
I love a pom-pom. Don't know what that's about. I may have been Mexican in a past life or something, but I love a pom-pom. And I'm like, I'm always wearing pom-poms. People are like, why are you wearing, I've got pom-pom earrings and pom-pom ponchos, and pom-poms just make me happy. And you can't have a bad day when you have small balls of coloured wool hanging off you. And I'm like, just wear what you love. Because when you wear what you love, your energy improves and people go, oh my God, I want to hang out with you because you seem fun. And you're like, I am fun. Look at my pom-poms, right? But we're so busy trying to fit in and be what people want us to be. And we're like, oh, I can't wear that because everyone at work will think. I'm like, think what? What will they think? That you're interesting? That you're fun? You know, like, our clothes are a signal to the world, and I think a lot of people miss using that. They all dress in these bloody boring uniforms, and they don't give us any clues as to who they are or what they're about.
There's a beautiful part in your book under the emotional energy chapter where you say clearing out old emotional energy is big work. Why did you say that?
I think so. Feelings have a clue in the word that you have to feel them, and we often don't feel our feelings because even as children we're taught not to feel our feelings. Like, don't cry, you're all right. It's like, what if I'm not all right? What if I want to cry? You know, the amount of times, and I'm guilty of doing this with my own kids, like, oh, don't cry. I'm like, why not? Let them cry. Like, and we're so scared of emotions, and we've been raised by people who were scared of emotions, who were raised by people who were scared of emotions. So for so many of us in our families, emotions aren't okay. And so then you have an emotion and you go, oh, and the amount of times people say, oh, I was going to cry, so I had to leave the meeting room, or I was going to cry, so I had to go to my bedroom, instead of being able to express how they feel because other people are uncomfortable with emotion. And I'm a very practical person, almost over practical. So I'm like, oh, that's terrible, that thing that just happened, but we need to get on. That's a terrible thing that's happened, and I feel really sad about that, but it's 10 to 6 and we've got to get the dinner on. So, you know, you just go, oh, well, move that to the side and start chopping up the carrots. Like, you move into what we have to do all the time.
Yeah.
And I think most of us are carrying around little boxes full of stuff that we haven't felt, where we've gone, oh, yeah, it was really sad that that happened and I never processed it. And for me, a really good friend of mine suicided, and I found out and I had to go on stage 20 minutes after I got the phone call. And I had to just put it in a box because I was like, I can't fall apart right now. There's a company paying me to inspire their people. There's people sitting waiting in an auditorium for me to speak. So I just had to go, oh, that's terrible. Move to the side. And I'm very good at compartmentalization. Went on stage, did that. And then I left. And I didn't tell anyone, like, I didn't share any of it, just got on with it. But then when I got back to my hotel room, I was like, oh, and then I was kind of like, I couldn't access the box because I'd shut the box. And then I was like, so I got photos out of him. I wrote him a letter. I just really let myself really get into that feeling of that and go deep into that, but in my terms, and in my space. And I think if we create spaces for that, like you go, oh yeah, my dog died and I was away on a trip and then I just came home and carried on. It's like, well, you can go to the beach and think about your dog and talk about your dog and draw a picture of your dog and write in your journal about your dog and, you know, cry about your dog. And like, you can really step into that energy and clear some of that out. And sometimes people can't do that on their own and they need someone to help them, like a therapist or someone to help them actually clear out like what happened to you And what did you make that mean? And what's the impact of that? Because when we carry shit around with us that is unprocessed, it goes bad. So I think that's a big part of our emotional energy. And if you haven't processed a breakup or a death or a deep sadness or a deep shift that happened that was out of your control, you've got a browser open all the time for that, which drains your energy. And until you actually process it and shut the browser, you're not free of it. I swear all the time. I find shit really funny. I butt in. I'm impulsive. I know all that about myself. And I always say to companies, I can not swear and I can turn up and be lovely, but you only get me at 70%. Because 30% of my energy has to be sitting off to the side going, oh, don't swear, don't say fuck, don't offend anybody, and my actual natural presence is, I don't give a fuck if you're offended, because offended's a choice. So if you're offended by something I say, it's kind of a you thing, like I don't care. And you get to decide if you're offended and what you're going to do with that offence and where you're going to put it and what you're going to make that mean. And I think that comes from when you're desperate to be liked. You're running around trying to keep yourself tidy for everybody. And I don't really care about being liked. I care about changing people's lives. I care about being provocative, and and so if I go a little bit hard with someone and tell them what I think, or I'm like, that might have been harsh, but might have been the greatest fucking thing that's ever going to happen to you. So be grateful, I do a lot of mentoring, and my mentoring style is I'm very blunt. And I call people on their shit constantly, because a lot of the people that come to me, they're high flyers and no one's telling them the truth. And I'm like, mate, you're being a prick. That's why this isn't working. And they're like, what? You can't say that to me. I'm like, you are paying me to tell you what the problem is, and you're paying me to help you unravel a challenge. And I have to be honest with you. And I'm very intuitive with how I read people. So I'm like, hang on, what just happened? Because you just got really shitty with me. So what's that about? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't. I'm like, no, you did. Don't lie. I can feel your energy that you're shitty with me. Yeah. So let's talk about that and clear that so we can move on. So I'm quite... Yeah. One of my mentors said to me years ago, you're not scared to put your chin in a fight, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm happy to take people on, because I think we grow when we're uncomfortable. And I think if you want to grow, you've got to look for disruption. Look for someone who's going to disrupt you. Look for someone who's going to give you a poke and go, oh, come on, Mina, you can do more than that. Like, what are you doing? You're better than that. And you're like, shit, I am. And it's like, and people go, oh, no, that was lovely. And you're like, well, that's not helping you grow. That's helping you stay the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like a slow clap for the average person, instead of what would really challenge you in pushing people into that stretchy space. I love that.
I think I need to just hang out more with you.
You've got to be a leader of your own life. You've got to be an entrepreneur of your own life. You've got to be the CEO of your life. And you're the main character. Do you know what I mean? And these people who are running around being best supporting actresses for someone else's life, I'm like, what are you doing? And people who aren't in there, I'm like, you're in charge of your shit. Get in charge. Like, people say, oh, I'm really unhappy. I'm like, cool. Whose fault's that? It's yours. They're like, oh, that's a bit mean. I'm like, no, it's true. Yeah. Because it's all a choice. Do you know what I mean? But I think choosing disruption is how we grow. And some people go, oh, I don't want to be disrupted. I just want to cuddle up on the couch. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome. I love that for you. You're not my person, and I can't work with you. I work with people who want to be better. And I love squeezing people who want to be better, especially people who are already pretty awesome. Like, high performers make me happy, because I'm like, you're already awesome, but imagine if you got more awesomer. What would it look like if you were more awesomer? And people, go, oh, well, I started a business and I've nailed it, and then now I don't know what's next. I'm like, you're ready to go next level. Like, what's the next level? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm tired. And I'm like, yeah, cool, you might need to lie down and then start again. Like, I'm not saying you should just constantly be going. But if you want more, get it, It's kind of your soul mission to get more.
If you want more, get it.
Yeah, go get it. Because if you want more, I think you have an ability to get more. There's lots of people out there that don't want more. They just want to be average. And you see them all the time. And I think, good for you. You're fine. You're great. And then there's people out there who just want to push every wall. They want to open doors. They want to bowl into things. They want more. They want to be more. They dream big. They think big. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's I think it's really exciting.